That's the biggest myth. People say, what do you do with your time? You must go crazy there.
None of us expected to stay in Yerevan, but we did. It was awful.
I think Germany doesn't need someone like me as much as maybe Armenia needs.
What people usually ask me in marshutkas or in taxis is like, "En gyozal yerkire togele sekele ste inchans."
Right.
Hey everybody, welcome to the 10th episode of Highlight. Today I'm your host, Haik Kazarian. I'm a Canadian Armenian, moved back to Armenia about a little over 7 years ago. And I left Yerevan about 3 years ago, and now I live in the mountains of Gegharkunik. And today I'm here with our guests. So I'm here with Sarah Stites, and she also came around 7 years ago. And I'm also with Tatevik Aghababyan, who came 8 years ago, or 9, correct?
I don't remember something about that.
Yeah, it's been a while ago. So we all kind of came to Armenia around the same time, and we all live in the regions. So we're not in Yerevan, at least most of the time. I know Tatevik doesn't come to Yerevan almost ever. I wanted to ask Sarah. So what brought you here? You know, what brought you here, and what took you to Gyumri?
So I'm 25% Armenian, and I didn't grow up connected to my Armenian roots at all. My Armenian grandfather passed away when my mom was very young, so I never got to meet him, and he was my one link to Armenia. So it was after I'd graduated from university, I went to an Armenian event that a friend invited me to, and I learned about Birthright. So I came with Birthright Armenia in 2018, and we were talking about this earlier, Haik, that when we came, neither of us anticipated the revolution, but we both we just kind of appeared in the middle of it.
Well, you bought your tickets in January.
Yeah.
So did I.
Exactly.
But for May.
Yes.
And you too, you came in May. So we came at the same time.
In the thick of it, and all of the people, you know, because in DC, right, I'm from the DC area, everyone was saying, oh, there's a revolution happening in Armenia. Is that why you're going? I said, no, absolutely, there's no connection.
They still keep asking me this. Like when I tell them when I came, they're like, oh, you came because of...
Yeah.
Like,
no. Sure. No, absolutely not. There was no connection. The reason I chose Gyumri was because Sevan, who is the director of Birthright Armenia, he told me, you know, we have the program in 2 cities. I think Vanadzor wasn't an option then. It was just Yerevan and Gyumri. And he said, you know, you're from a big city. Why don't you try a smaller city? And then he told me it was a lot cooler in the summer than Yerevan. And that was actually, to be quite honest with you guys, the main reason. I thought, I don't want to be in the heat in Yerevan. And I was given 2 opportunities to volunteer. And one of them was at a place called Emily Aregak, which is a therapy center for children.
Right.
With
and
special needs in Gyumri.
that's the way that took you to actually helping found that Aregak bakery.
Not
which
exactly.
my wife loves.
Yeah.
Every time we go to Gyumri, that's like the first place where we go is the Aregak bakery. Because actually the food is amazing.
The food is amazing.
Yeah, it's really well done.
I was actually drawn to volunteering at Emily Aregak because they informed me we're in the middle of opening Armenia's first bakery to employ people with disabilities. They had gotten a grant from the European Union, and they needed a volunteer who was good in English and who had a background in PR and marketing to help. And that is my background. And I thought, wow. And when I was a kid, I volunteered with people with disabilities. My nephew has autism, so this was a very exciting project for me. And so I got to see this abandoned storefront on Aghababyan Street in Gyumri across from the theater, you know, this street that was surprising to us now, almost
it's like
abandoned.
It's the center.
It's the center, but that piece of property was abandoned. And now can you believe that?
I can't.
It was an old little market, and the windows were broken and it was boarded up. So when I arrived, I thought, how is this in the city center, right? But my colleagues at the time, they rented that property, and with the support of the European Union, they turned it into the beautiful, bright bakery that it is today.
It's an awesome place to
be. Yeah. And that's honestly the reason I decided to stay, because I got to be, as a 23-year-old, part of that huge project that has already changed so much in Armenia around this issue of inclusion of people with disabilities in the workforce. And as you said, Haik, and I think it's very important to note, the bakery's delicious. No one goes there out of pity.
Yeah. That's
right?
The thing. That's perfectly put.
Yeah, I mean, because I think I would like to touch on this later in our conversation and hear your thoughts on this too. But we've got a lot of nonprofit organizations in Armenia. A lot of them have financial issues. They're all doing great things, but funding is always an issue. I think the future is in social enterprises, in businesses that are actually high quality, right? That help solve the social problem the nonprofit is working, right?
Social
to combat.
enterprise. Social enterprise
Exactly.
is, yeah,
and generates
yeah,
profit,
yeah.
right? So
Actually, this is also how Tatevik, right? You made your own, like you made your house, you made your
Yeah.
home, and you started a restaurant, and
Yes.
you're employing women, you're empowering
Exactly.
women in your. So maybe tell us a bit about your.
I think we start from restaurant, which appeared much later than my house, because the point Sarah was touching. My restaurant is a fine dining restaurant in the middle of a village, which seems to be a very
Counterintuitive.
To say the least, it's a bit an extraordinary choice for a business plan, let's say. And if you put this business plan as numbers on a sheet, no one would realize it unless it's your project for yourself, right? So, but we desperately need projects like this, because this is gonna change the landscape. Especially in Armenia. Armenia needs desperately these changes, that everything is focused so much in Yerevan that we ask ourselves, okay, if we go outside of here, what's going to happen? What we're going to do? Where we're going to eat? Any entertainment? And we don't have much of a spectrum outside of Yerevan.
Mostly churches, basically. Everybody goes.
Yeah, and this is something where when these conversations are coming, like with tourists or with friends, and especially, I was living in Germany, and they're saying, okay, when we come, what can we do? We can do this, and you quickly realize if someone is not into very much outdoor activities due to physical conditions or health, or I don't know, due to interest, maybe someone is just not interested. What are you going to do? You're going to go visit 5 churches, and after the third one, they shut down anyway. The attention span is you're not reaching them anymore. Yeah. Okay, so and I remember when I was traveling myself back in those days in Armenia, it was always a huge problem to have a nice restaurant outside of Yerevan. Yeah, it was
not
usually
the traditional, like
it is
the typical
usually
stuff with the chorovats
the
and
typical
everything.
stuff and chorovats maybe somewhere and most of them over very I don't know.
Everybody's chorovats is the best. This is one thing I've learned.
And
everybody's dad makes the best chorovats.
Most of the time, you don't have decent food when you're on the road. Okay, and not to mention. Something different than chorovats. And in first years when I opened my house, now I'm going back to my house, Debed Life, which started operating in 2020. I'm having people who travel across Armenia, and they maybe have one last stay in Lori. And they share experiences, and they say, this is the food is very ambivalent in Armenia. At the first glance, it's very delicious, the flavors, the freshness, the vegetables, but we're lacking spectrum. So again, in terms of breakfast, let's say you travel across Armenia in different, not even villages, in different towns, in provinces, in regions, and the breakfast is always the same, the lunch is always the same, the dinner is always the same, and the spectrum is not there, and people get bored.
Fair enough.
And the diversity you get is only in Yerevan, and that sounded to me so strange. I mean, why can't you choose to eat something else?
I think it comes down to the business
especially if
plan.
you're vegan or vegetarian. Come on, then you have really difficulties to have in course of time. Fun with food. Yeah, so that was the main thing that I thought. Okay, in Debed Life, people really loving our kitchen. They really loved our
I haven't
cookery.
Been there. Would like to
I
go.
haven't either. What's your favorite dish on the menu?
Right now,
or does it changes seasonally?
Right now, my favorite dish on the menu is the Shirak. This is
liver or lung.
Liver.
Liver, okay.
I prepare with liver only, and I prepare it with some German twist, just my way.
Of course.
Yeah, well, my whole menu is with it's a fusion. It's a fusion, yes, because it's collected just from the countries I've traveled or my memories. And even the Armenian traditional section of my menu is a memory of how my grandma or my mother would cook. But of course, I cannot replicate that 100%.
You do your own thing.
And I do my own thing.
Yeah.
And this is a lot about my memories. So back to what you were mentioning, it is extremely important to invest in regions, to change the landscape, to social entrepreneurship, because it changes also when you're hiring people. They learn through your expertise. They extend their vision through your vision. They are learning from you. They're learning from the people you are attracting to yourself. You know, it is extremely important to leave Yerevan as it is for a moment and put a bit more love to the regions.
Amazing.
Just for all Armenia's sake.
Okay, great. So now we have some questions here. So one of the things that I guess people are wondering is, what are the myths that maybe you hear about the regions? Some myths about like moving into the regions, or some things that I guess some stereotypes or something that you have. I guess I'll start with Sarah. Like, what are some things that you can debunk or confirm?
So I guess I would start by saying I want to debunk the myth that it's boring. I'm sure Tatevik can agree with me, and you as well, Haik, that that's the biggest myth. People say, what do you do with your time? You must go crazy there. And I think this echoes what Tatevik was just saying, that at some point, you have to be responsible for creating your own activities, right? And I think if you're a doer and you actually want to see the regions change, you're going to have plenty to do, because there's going to be so many projects, right?
Definitely.
I mean, that's what we were just talking about, that the sheer number of possibilities there are and opportunities that there are, right, in the regions, they're much higher, I would say, than in Yerevan. Because, for example, my friend just opened a Pilates studio in Gyumri because we didn't have one. You know, we opened Aragak Bakery. At the time, there was no place to have a good croissant.
Oh, yeah. Oh, your croissants are crazy. Yeah.
In Gyumri, right? So there's so many opportunities. And if you're a doer, if you want to change things, then the regions are your oyster. At the same time, I will say probably a myth that is somewhat true, at least in my experience, is that you have to constantly go to Yerevan in order to move projects forward, at least in my field, because
you still have a chain kind of that's...
because I do a lot of work with donors, and a lot of them are in Yerevan. Maybe they're representatives of larger global organizations, or maybe they are donors, American Armenian, let's say, visiting from the States, and it's harder to get them to come to Gyumri. So often I need to come to Yerevan in order to meet them, right? And there are meetings and networking events and things like that that have to be held. So I think there's always that tether, and I'm not able usually to pass 1 week without at least one trip.
Definitely my case. Yes.
Wow, per week.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's hard. That can be really hard, right?
It is very exhausting.
To go back and
sometimes,
forth.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's expensive too.
It's expensive. Yeah, it's expensive. And can I just add something that is mind-boggling to me? Gyumri is Armenia's second biggest city. Vanadzor is the third, right? I've been relying on GG shuttle to get back and forth between cities for most of my time in Armenia. And it was only just, I think, a month and a half ago that GG launched Gyumri Vanadzor.
Oh.
Yeah.
So everything leaves from Yerevan. Yerevan's the spoke, right? So there's Yerevan Goris, Yerevan Ijevan, Yerevan Stepanovan.
Yeah, transport is
it's
difficult.
It's a big issue.
I mean, in my case, I didn't talk too much about it, but like I live in Antaramech village, and if you want to go to Gyumri if you don't have a car, you have to actually go through Yerevan.
Yeah.
You can't even go to Ijevan and get something that goes to Gyumri.
Right.
It's weird. They should fix that.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get into this later, but that's a huge obstacle,
yeah.
I think, for people who want to explore living in the regions, who know they will need to come to Yerevan occasionally, just how to organize that.
And also for those who just, not everyone listening to us, I'm pretty sure is going to move to region, but as an observer from side, okay? Sometimes also a myth that in a village or in a region, life is cheaper, then the services must be much more cheaper than in Yerevan. This is a myth, children, because, to build something so far away from Yerevan, it requires way more logistics, investments, and effort than to have it in Yerevan. So it is not justified just because it's in a village, then it needs to be cheaper than in Yerevan.
It depends what, right? Like, for example, there's 100 people that live in our village, and we have a couple of them that have like an in-house store, I guess. And it's way more expensive to buy stuff there than it is to like drive to Yerevan. But Yerevan groceries, at least, are cheaper than Yerevan for sure. So it depends on what. But yeah, if you're gonna
I'm not saying about buying groceries, because sometimes for me it's cheaper to buy groceries in Vanadzor than, of course, certain things, But I'm speaking about big project, operation, construction.
Right.
Imagine doing a construction. I mean, I was kind of exchanging experience with some people doing the same type of project in Yerevan. You can do a lot of stuff just with a call. They would deliver you everything for free.
Yeah.
Now try to order something, even one sack of something from Vanadzor, and it is never for free.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
So this distances, this multiplying expenses so much, and logistic, it's a big issue. That's why this is one of the myths that I'm struggling with. People expect coming to village and saying, oh, why do we have to pay for a meal similar price as in Yerevan downtown? Yeah, because it's an investment.
Yeah, it
required an investment, and it is still requiring a lot of efforts and resources to keep up, to maintain this everything. And I'm not saying we are high priced, but the expectation or the anticipation how people come to us, this is different.
What took you to Debed, as opposed to another place? The nature?
Definitely, yes. I was raised and born in Yerevan.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm 100% Yerevanci, and I studied in State University. I graduated, so I'm very familiar with everything that is here local. But I always hated the climate in Yerevan. I was suffering so much.
It's a big deal.
I mean,
I'm in that club too, actually.
That the climate here is just so harsh. In the summer, the constant headaches, heat strokes.
It used to be better. It used to be dry. And
I think it got worse
and the air quality.
And plus now the air quality. But even back in those days, in late 90s, early 2000s, when I was a student, and I remember I was suffering headaches because of the heat. And then I moved to Germany, and I started loving the summertime. I mean, I was enjoying because it was my favorite time of year. And my favorite season. So accidentally, I found myself in a village in Lori. At the end of my first world trip, I found myself in Lori with my family, visiting a family friend in this village. And I said, God, there is a spot in Armenia in the middle of July which is green. I never thought it.
You should come visit Antaramej.
I thought Armenia is yellow by beginning of June.
You know what? Yeah,
that was my knowledge. That was the myth.
That's a myth. There we go. That's a myth. We
that was my myth. And then I find myself in this village, and it's green everywhere.
Yeah.
And you wake up in the morning, it's fresh, it's so nice, it's chilly, and oh God, that's so wonderful here. And I accidentally dropped the line. I said, you know what? It would be so good to have a home base here.
Yeah.
Because I was in a traveling mode. I was sure that my life is changing. I will probably not be living in Germany anymore. I will be doing full-time traveling and remote jobs. So that was my mental state at that point. And I was thinking in home bases, like the classical digital nomad. I will have my home bases. And someone caught this line. My brother said, hey, we can check. Maybe there's a lot for sale, probably. And, within 2
One
days,
thing led to the other, and there you are.
2 days,
Yeah.
2 days later, I had the down payment done.
Yeah.
I mean, I was no business plan, no research, nothing. I was just like, wow, this is such a great place to come back.
Do you suggest others do that, or they should probably write a business plan, though, right? Like if
No,
somebody
no,
wants
no,
to go
because
through your steps, no business plan.
mentally healthy person would do that. What I did.
I mean, there's
I
a
would
lot
have
of
to be full-time crazy to do that.
Oh,
Fair
that's
enough.
funny.
Because the down payment was the last money at the limit of my credit card. So I had zero money. Coming
hear
back
you.
to Germany with zero money because I was traveling. I spent all my money. And I thought, okay, well, it's not a big deal. I'll figure out something.
Yeah.
And the next crazy thing was then I was going back to my job from a sabbatical. And I quit my job a week after. Again, no money, no plan, nothing. And then, I don't know. And it goes on and on like
Yep.
this until I found myself in Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Few months later, I'm not living in Germany anymore. I'm in Vietnam in a wonderful village away from 1.5 hours away from Hanoi. And again, it reminded me of Debed. It's remote, so it's this green hills, beautifully. It's raining nonstop, and I'm sitting and working and thinking, oh, actually, I have a spot there with similar vibe, and I could have and I was in a house like a co-living, co-working, remote kind of a place. I thought, hey, I could have something over there that could work. And right away, I'm getting an architect in Armenia on the phone, launching the construction project, the design project for the house. And actually, while traveling for another 2 years, I'm building the house remotely, going back and forth. And this is crazy. I mean, this is crazy. Zero plan, just gut feeling, just intuition. And I thought that would be great. 2020, we're going to open the house.
And then that happened. And then that thing happened.
And I'm already writing invitation like for housewarming party and while editing the list for invitees, global lockdown is announced for the whole world. Everything shuts down.
It was a tough time, yeah.
Yeah, and since I was living in the house with my mother, senior, and knowing all this horror happening, and no one really knows what's happening, but that terrible things are happening, to go the extra safety mile. We kept quarantine for another 5 months, 5 or 6 months, and first time opened our doors in August 2020. We're actually 5 years old.
Wow,
now.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
A little cake with a...
well, on 2nd of August, which is, I think, in 3 days, we are having our birthday. Yeah, I don't know when this is going to be aired, but yeah.
So what do you guys think would make like people, maybe not the locals, but more like repats, people that come from wherever, that come to Armenia? First stop is always Yerevan, right? Like me too.
Yeah.
First stop was in Yerevan. I moved a few
because you have the
apartments.
airport here.
That's a big
Airports,
factor.
yeah. But you stay 2-3 days in Yerevan, but most people will relocate to Yerevan and they will live in Yerevan or around Yerevan. What would it take for people to want to go and explore the regions and maybe actually live there? I'll give you guys an example. So in my case, I'm a little bit privileged where I am a online worker, like I'm a remote worker. So I have my little office at home, and that's where I spend most of my time. And so it's really like a dream come true for me. I have like my big Gampar dog. I have my I always wanted to have land in Armenia where I could grow like Armenian tomatoes, right? So I'm gonna get your seeds. But what would it take for people to be motivated to actually want to go and build something outside of Yerevan? What do you guys think? Maybe go.
Yeah, I'd love to answer this question because I spend a lot of time thinking about this. When I first decided to stay permanently in Armenia, so around COVID time, I had a lot of time to think about it, being in lockdown for a bit. I was thinking, okay, maybe if we had more online jobs, if there were more people who had the sort of work that would allow them to be digital nomads, they would consider places like Gyumri or Vanats or
Would they though?
Well, that's what I'm getting to. So I thought that at first, that it was an issue of work, because my experience of Gyumri was that so many of the men were leaving to go to Russia to work, right? That the economy was so bad that people were actually leaving Gyumri, not coming into Gyumri, right? That work was the issue. Yeah. And then as more and more people started to become digital nomads, I realized that really, I think the issue is more about community and places also to spend your time and money. And there's a sort of a chicken and an egg situation here, right? Where restaurants, theaters, whatever you want to call them, right? Places to spend your time and money. Those places will open in the locations where there's enough people to take advantage of them, right? But the people won't come to the place until there are there, right? Yeah. So it's a chicken and an egg. So I have been wondering, how can we move in communities, right? Because you're married. Yeah. You have a child, you have a gampar. I'm single, I have no pets. I built a community in Gyumri, and Gyumri is a town, right? So there are places that we can meet. But there have been times when I've thought, I'd like to move to a village too, but I've gotten a little bit nervous about the community aspect. Yeah. And so I think if we could do something to move en masse, not huge numbers, but bring communities of people, and also think through these co-working spaces, right? Or places that attract larger groups, I think that would be really helpful, because people want things to do and people to do them with.
This is true. This is a problem that we have in our village. So there is a guest house there. It's a nice guest house with great views and everything. But there's not enough activities. I mean, there's a lot of activities you can do.
Of course.
If you bring your four-wheeler with you. If you have your off-roading vehicle with you. If you have. In the winter, you can do some ski de fond, not alpine skiing, but the other one.
Cross-country skiing.
Yeah. There's a lot of space for that. There's like little hills, nice hills. There's always horses everywhere. You can go. You can do sightseeing.
Outdoor activities, nature activities.
There's a hill from the top of which you can look at Sevan. But for example, the car that takes you there, it's like an old Soviet Wazik with everything, which has its own charm.
Absolutely.
Has its own thing.
And there's a group of people that love that.
There is a group of people that love that. But then you have those who own, let's say, that guest house, or who are managing that guest house, that may not be able to reach those people, through their advertising or lack thereof, for example. So you have these gems, like Debed too, you have these gems of places that people could go and it would be like the best time ever. Right. They have no idea. Right. They don't know. They don't know that they can do that. And that's unfortunate.
I think what is also very important, you've mentioned you have your kid, you have your gumper, you're single. I am single. I have my doggo. And I think it is way different when you have children.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Because at a certain point, you want to have a good kindergarten, and later on you need a good education options for your children. And unfortunately, the education options, although you have public schools and everything, but the choices are definitely much better than in Yerevan. And I know people who moved to Debed, and because of lack of this infrastructure, they moved
back to
out.
Yerevan.
No, not to Yerevan, to Vanadzor. But again, I think this is an issue we cannot fix. But we also need to consider that they are the ones who have children. Yeah. They need to consider the educational horizon for the children, and this is an issue. Yeah. Speaking of, I think it's a lifestyle and personal choice thing. I remember when I lived in Frankfurt, we had tons of events, concerts, theaters, and everything. But because you're busy with your life, it's not that you go to some event or something on a daily basis. not even on a weekly
Having
rhythm.
the ability to go
yeah.
is
Yes, now and then there you have to choose, right? And
Yeah.
and it's also resources and also financial aspect important. Again, I mean, you live in a city and you make your choices, and I make my choices now same way. Okay, I can come to Yerevan for any event I want. I have plenty of occupation in the village. I have zero time. I have problem finding free time, you know. But on the other hand, you ask what would motivate, because it's rewarding
oh yeah.
seeing the change you have done. This is so rewarding. You are literally looking what you have now and think back what it was like me. Now I do the retrospective of my house, of Debed life, and what it has changed in course of these 5 years of operations. And I look at these photos and I think, God, this cannot be 5 years ago. Wait a second.
Well, the
This looks
impact
like
is
it was
much more,
20
yeah.
years ago, because the changes are so big. And when I moved from Germany, I said, I think Germany doesn't need someone like me as much as maybe Armenia needs.
That's a great way. So I'm sorry
I
to
think
interrupt. This
Armenia
is
needs
totally
me
like
more than,
yeah.
and I feel much more
You can have a bigger
demanded.
impact.
Yes, I have a
Absolutely.
bigger impact with my potential, with my resources. I can do much more, and I see the difference right now. And this is so rewarding. To answer your question, what would one motivate someone to come to Armenia and operate in the villages, in
Absolutely.
the
This was
regions?
one of the motivations for me as well. So, I lived in Canada for 25 years, and in Canada, you're a little cog, part of
Right.
the thing.
Yeah.
You can't make too many waves. And in my opinion, what like the raison d'être, the ikigai, the reason for
Yeah.
being
Mm-hmm.
is the more impact you can have in other people's lives, right?
Absolutely.
The more positive impact you have, the more fuller your life is, the better you feel
Yeah.
as you live. So this is me too. I felt the same thing. You can have a way bigger impact in Armenia. So we're back. There was a little interruption yesterday with electricity, and so we decided to like wear the same stuff. But you know what? We're gonna be transparent. We're continuing it the next day. We didn't expect. I know. None of us expected to stay in Yerevan, but we did. It was awful, and now we're gonna continue. So we left off. I believe is like, do you feel like an outsider? And Tatevik, you were talking about if you feel like an outsider sometimes in your community and how that affects you.
Well, to answer your first question, if I feel outsider, yes, I definitely do. If that bothers me, no.
Yeah.
The truth is, I had a different path, and the community had a different path. The life paths are different, and this is a fact. And we are not going to merge 100% fully. I have my peers, I have my employees, I socialize with them, and I think they have more and more understanding of my horizon. Although I was born and raised in Armenia, right? But I was born and raised in Yerevan. So I loved village in my childhood. I was very connected to village life in my summer holidays, but that was it. Okay. So we had different paths, obviously. And then I'm going to Germany. And for them, I'm the one who is from Germany. So they don't even relate oftentimes that I was in Armenia in 23 years of my life. So I'm related mostly to the fact that I'm back from Germany. And no, I don't feel, and frankly, I don't do much to force to be fully integrated, because I
Yeah.
know just the fact we are very different from our horizons, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I have a question that I've been thinking about since we had a whole night to think about stuff that. Uh, what I'll start with. What would make you leave? Like, what would make you like just give up and just go back?
Oh wow.
Right? That's a good question.
That is a good question. I think if I felt that I were no longer making any difference in the community, I think that I would leave and find a new place where I could make a difference. We were talking about that
Yes.
earlier, that what motivates us is the impact we're able to make and being part of the change in the community. So I think if I ever felt there was a moment of stagnation, beyond a moment, an extended period of stagnation, I would probably leave. But in the last 7 years that I've been in Gyumri, I've only seen trends upward. So yeah, in my case, that's what would cause me to leave. I think also if I ever felt any sort of, if I felt that my community in Gyumri didn't welcome me, that would cause me to leave. But I've only really actually ever felt a warm embrace from the community. There have been moments of frustration, and we'll probably get into that later. I'm not going to deny that, but I've only felt that people have welcomed me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What about you, Tatevik? What would make you leave? Like, what would make you like drop everything, sell everything, and just be like, I'm done with this. I'm leaving. With that, is that even possible?
Maybe, I don't know, because life is a tricky thing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
never know what's going to happen. But also Sarah mentioned that you feel, in a way, fulfilled with the progress you're making. And it's strongly related to the sense of personal happiness. When you're miserable and continuously miserable, and this is not fueling your inner happiness, then you probably start considering different things, and the lack of progress or I don't know, development that might contribute to that negative sensation. I don't think that it's easy just to go. It needs to be really, 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 really bad to say, okay, I'm no longer needed here. I have to figure out something else. In my particular case, every time I'm coming back from Yerevan, when I park my car and I get out of my car, an instant relief that I'm back. Okay, fine, I'm back. This is, like you feel you're in your spot.
You have your roots. Like,
Yes,
yeah.
this feels so good that you don't really think about things that were frustrating you yesterday or a year ago, or they were just torturing you for a longer period of time. No, it's just that moment when you feel you belong there. It means so much that you don't really consider oftentimes just to quit and go, and you learn actually that everything is temporary. And this is a very, very important, simple, basic knowledge. Everything is temporary. And even hardships, they are temporary as long as you work on them. So they will not go away. When you go away, they will remain. Or at least with changing location, it's not a solution. Right, but once you feel you belong there, I think this question is not even popping up.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's this very interesting framework of happiness, and hopefully I can remember the 4 elements of it, but one of the 4 is belonging. One of them is mission, that you need to feel like you have a mission, right? Transcendence, a connection to God, let's say, or to nature, and then narrative, like you're part of a bigger story.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, I really like this framework because sometimes
it's a framework for happiness.
For happiness,
okay,
yeah,
enough.
to reframe what it means to be happy. And there are some psychologists who have identified those 4 facets of happiness. And I think what's complicated about that is you can feel very fulfilled in your mission, for example, that you're making an impact, but maybe you don't feel like you belong. Or you're in the middle of nature, and so you feel that connection to transcendence, but maybe, you don't feel your mission, right? So there are those 4 elements, and I think when we feel happy, somehow those 4 are in balance. But I also want to bring up one fact that I think is hard too, is that sometimes repats come and they live here for an extended period of time, and then because life has seasons, right? And
Right.
because life is unpredictable, something can cause people who were very committed to leave. And I think there is, and something we need to face is there's this feeling of guilt, right? When
Yeah.
repats leave, like I couldn't make it work or something happened and I had to go. But life has seasons, right?
But you know, the thing what you just said, it assumes also that the repats that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're talking about are those that are coming here to make an impact, not those that come here for selfish reasons like me. Okay, I did have a period where I made the impact. Like I had that charity going. I had the recycling thing that I was trying to do. So some of them succeeded, some of them failed. Like a bunch of startups here and there, some relationships, etc. But my a lot of people, and especially when I went back to Canada, and people would ask me, what is it? I want to go to. I want to make an impact. A lot of repats will come here with this idea that they're gonna solve some big problem or be like the next someone that's gonna do something. But also, a lot of people come for selfish reasons, and it's nothing wrong with that. Like
No.
selfish
But maybe the
reasons,
key
like
is exactly
it's
that
cheaper to live
selfish
here
I think
reason.
that is
yeah.
the
Not
key.
to put over anticipated
No.
kind of goals and just come and live. Like I was selfish too. I mean, I was thinking not even to repatriating or whatsoever. It was so basic. I was thinking to have a home base here, travel around the world, and have a very pragmatic, simple home base here. And look what happened. Now I have my business, I have my restaurant, I have my 9 to 12 employees. I don't know. I was not planning none of this. It was a selfish, super selfish, very pragmatic
The reason I said
reason.
this is to encourage people to come for selfish
Yeah,
reasons.
no. And I wanna argue back and say you are making an impact, right? Because one of my own personal
Just
missions,
spending money here, yeah.
spending money, but also choosing Antaramej
Yeah.
is huge for the people who live there because they start to see their village through your eyes. Wow, this guy came from Canada and lives in our village. He sees this place as a worthy place, a beautiful place to raise his kids.
They still want to sell their houses and go live in
I
the
know,
city.
but still, there's bound to be at least some people there,
yeah.
right? And in the same way, in Gyumri, I feel like my friends and people in my community, they're constantly, their minds are boggled, right? I'm sure you get the same question.
Yes.
How did you leave Germany to come here? How did you leave Washington to come here? How did you leave Montreal, right? And so when you say, I actually see the beauty in this place, I see the potential in this place, even if you just cause one person to reframe and think, wow, maybe I can live here too and see the beauty in this place.
You know,
That's
a
an
few
impact.
years back, I was asked to design the branding for my village. And I got in cooperation with Co-op because we're neighbors.
You did that? You did
Yes,
that?
I did the branding for the village.
Cool.
And I got a workshop with the kids. So I said, why should I develop the branding? They should tell me what doing this brand value workshops, all these classical steps of finding out what's the values and all that stuff. And I was doing the workshop with the children, and usually I photograph. And I said, okay, let's go and do some shootings and see what's so special about it. We have to tell a story about this village. Let's go see what it is. And we were doing some photos, and they were looking at my photos. I was looking at their photos, and for them, it's okay. Well, what should I shoot here? Well, this is a building. Oh, well, this is a house. Oh, well, this is a road. And then we were looking at the photos, and they said, when we look at your photos, we start loving our village.
There you go.
It's just I'm shooting the same house as they do. It's just I look at it different from a different perspective. And
Yep.
of course, it was not a photography class, but I'm happy to give one. But end of story is that they started like appreciating a little bit more that, oh, there is a little alley here. Oh, look at this tree there. It's so beautiful. And we never were even noticing it was there, right? So just to be there and sharing your perspective, it's
Absolutely.
absolutely impactful. And don't underestimate the importance of your presence.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. And yeah, for me, like it was kind of selfish in a sense where I was already working from home back in Canada. So like, why would I like pay rent For the same amount, I could go to Armenia, work from there, and like have a place of my own. Why not? And you were talking about that the happiness framework. For me, was the ikigai framework of like the raison d'être, the reason for being. You do something you're good at, something that pays you.
Right.
People need it, and there was a fourth one. Of course, I forget.
Oh, transcendence and.
No, it has to be something useful. Yeah, something useful. So people need it. They're willing to pay for it. You're good at it, and you like doing it. Yeah. This is what made me. So I came here. I wanted to open a call center at some point for my company back in Canada. I don't know. It all like everything that happened. Now for me, it's perfect because all the stuff that I went through, the difficulties, made it that I have now my family, my son. And totally worth it. All the stuff that came before that, all the mistakes you make, all the that it was because otherwise he wouldn't have been, right. So that's for me, and it would be difficult to answer my own question of what would take for me to leave. I don't know. I guess my family being in danger. That's like the only thing that would make me leave. Yeah.
Ooh, hard question. So if you feel like your family's in danger, right? And others in the community do too, but they don't have the possibility to leave. How do you wrestle with that? I think that's psychologically one of the most challenging for me, at least, knowing that I have the American passport as well as the Armenian passport, right? Psychologically, it's so different to know that you have the escape card somehow.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't leave right away. It would have to like really be in danger, right? And so like that's.
Kids also play a huge role, right? We were talking about this earlier.
Of course.
That when you have a child,
once you have a child, I think your priorities and everything changes.
It's no longer about you, It's like
yes,
about someone else.
And I think in that perspective, community would fade in the background, and your main goal is the children and their security. I think.
Yeah, you do wrestle
I don't know.
with that. It's like unfair, right? You look at your neighbors and you're like, I can go anytime. There's a privilege that comes with that, and you have to kind of, I don't know, battle with it, I guess.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know.
And you can't really know, I guess, until the moment
You can't
comes.
know until it comes. Yeah, it's difficult. Okay, on a lighter note, tell me something like really funny, something that happened that like an anecdote that happened to you in Gyumri that you would love to share with our audience.
An anecdote in Gyumri. Let's see. Well, I learned Armenian in Gyumri.
It's true. You speak Armenian better than I do. I swear, like in the 7 last years, you learned Armenian.
Yeah. My grandfather would have spoken Western, but he didn't teach my mom and her siblings. So I started learning Eastern Armenian in Gyumri in 2018, and my teacher said I was making good progress, but she was teaching me literate, Armenian. She wasn't
Real
teaching
Armenian.
me. Yeah. Well,
no offense to all the people that speak in dialects.
So you're also proficient in Gyumri Barbar?
Not proficient, but I understand it well, and I do speak with
Give us a sample. Come on.
Oh,
that's good.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good. So I always say inches, and I use different different words, and if I'm in Gyumri and speaking with Gyumretsis, then it comes out.
You get the flow.
It comes out. Yeah.
We kind of adapt, right? We kind of adapt to whoever we're speaking with. But it was quite funny to leave the classroom and go out onto the street and actually try and start speaking with people, and I was not picking up anything because people were speaking it really heavy, Gyumretsi Barbar. And then I went back to my teacher, and she's like, I'm teaching you Armenian by the book. I'm like, this is not helpful to me. How am I supposed to communicate with people on the street? But no, I made some...
They understand you.
Yeah. Though I would say that for the first maybe 3 years, there were certain letters I just could not for the life of me pronounce. The rolled R was very difficult. The R was difficult. And then the nuances, those letters, right?
Yeah, without the, yeah.
Yeah. But I have this very distinct memory, and all my friends in Gyumri still laugh at me for this. I like big words, and I had a friend who was teaching me big words in Armenian. He's like, "Oh, this is a good one, napatakaslat." I was like, "Yes, goal oriented." So I repeated it, and I said napastakaslat.
Nice.
Yes. So they all still they use that word now in Gyumri.
It became a thing.
It became a thing.
You coined the
cuter.
term.
I coined a term.
It's a cuter version.
Yeah. But I just will tie that anecdote to the broader truth of, if you're trying to learn a language, and for anyone listening who doesn't know Armenian, it's possible to learn as an adult. I was 23 when I started, and it was very challenging. There were some moments of deep frustration, and I think for me, as one who loves having deep conversations with people and getting into the nitty-gritty and nuance, it's impossible to speak with nuance when you're learning a language.
True.
At the beginning, you have to use so many words to explain.
Speak with your hands, legs,
exactly,
and
pointing, all of that. So making mistakes is a huge piece of language learning, and you have to just be okay with that and know that people are going to laugh.
But that's okay.
It's okay.
They're enjoying you learning Armenian.
Exactly.
I don't think there's anything more than anything that an Armenian likes more is that somebody that doesn't look totally Armenian,
right,
learning Armenian.
Right.
It's like learning Greek without being a Greek. Greek is still more useful, quote unquote, in terms of like having root words that are in other languages, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But like Swahili or something, it's a language that is not used everywhere. Like English is used everywhere, French is used everywhere, Arabic is used everywhere, Chinese is like or Mandarin, etc. But Armenian, you learn Armenian for it to be useful to you in Armenia or somewhere in another country where there's like some Armenians. So like when somebody learns that language for an Armenian, it's like, wow, you actually did it. And so you're like halfway there to becoming Armenian, basically somebody that is not Armenian that learns the Armenian language.
Right.
That's my opinion anyways. Some people would probably disagree with me.
Yeah. I'll share one more. This one is kind of bittersweet. So in 2019, I was on a marsrutka in Yerevan, headed back to Gyumri, and I met a woman. She was seated behind me. She heard me speaking English, and she loves English. She's from Gyumri, and so she tapped me on the shoulder and asked, where I was from, why I was there. And when I turned around to answer her question, she looked really surprised when she saw my face, and it turned out that I look very similar to the daughter that she lost in the earthquake.
Oh.
And that was the start of our close friendship, and she's like my Gyumri mom now. And I've kind of not taken the place, but been able to stand somehow in that role of third daughter to her. And I've had so many experiences like that living in Gyumri. Just, we're so far past the earthquake, but yet everyone in that city was affected somehow. That's also been a big challenge for me too, to try and put myself in the shoes of people who have seen traumas that I've never experienced. I think too, living here during the war, I'm sure you can speak to this as well. And I guess, were you here during the war?
Yeah,
yes,
we're all here.
You were here during the war.
Yeah.
That was also really a challenging time to wrestle with the privilege of growing up in peace and trying to understand the people here through the reality, right, of being constantly face to face with the possibility of something literally blowing up on the border, right, and wrestling with what it looks like to, for example, give birth to a son in this society and already be thinking 18 years ahead that he's going to serve, and what are you going to do if you have the chance to leave? Do you take it, right? So I think living here has probably made us all more empathetic too.
Yeah. What people usually ask me in marshutkas or in taxis is like, and gyozal yerkire togel ես եկել ես թե ինչ անես?
Right.
This is usually the question I get.
Happy to answer the question, but it gets
it's always the same sentence.
Yeah.
It's always the same sentence. So I'm like, no, this is the best country to live in. Yeah, this is the best place to be.
And see, that's a huge impact too, right? Like what we were saying earlier, just to answer the question that way.
Yeah. Any anecdotes?
I think both of my stories are related to the same period of me appearing somehow in the village. And now Debed is much more developed. Like you have guest houses, you have co-op, and here you have a restaurant, fine dining, and all that stuff. But back 7 years ago, when I appeared there, a girl looking Western, although I don't consider my appearance Western, but for them, I was looking Western, foreigner, with a camera. I was like, who's she?
Spion.
What is she doing here? And they didn't even know how to approach and talk to me because they were not expecting I was speaking Armenian. So the women would gather at their gates, little gates, and talk and and when I would approach, they would just put nuts in my pocket to welcome me. And then I would say in Armenian, of course, oh, shnorakalutuma. Oh, you speak Armenian. Oh, like it was so unexpected that someone would come to the village from abroad. And with abroad, I mean someone who is not related to the 5 family surnames in the village. I mean, you come there only if you have relatives. If you don't have relatives, you have a reason to come, okay? So, and furthermore, a few months later, when I was already building my house, no one would ever believe I'm moving in to live. And there were excuse me, there were stories circling around like, oh, aversions, what it would be, because you're digging a big foundation, concrete, and all that stuff. And no one builds home like this, like a concrete foundation. Come on. And I have this huge operations going on there. And there's
and everybody's speculating.
Supermarket, yes, supermarket. A supermarket. And then I'm like, supermarket? I said, no, this is not the supermarket. This is the parking lot for the supermarket. Supermarket is going to be even bigger. And then they're like, no, this is looking like a building. This is not a supermarket. Oh, this is a wedding complex. Oh. So it would be everything. Except that it's a house for this person to live. Yeah. And finally, when I moved in, and there were other versions of circulating about my identity, about me coming from Germany. Yeah. She worked at Mercedes. All this stuff. Like,
wait, that's so funny.
Oh, yeah. So there are a lot of myths about why, and yes, they're not literally believing that I would move and live. No, maybe with the time, okay, maybe we have business, and still no one believes. Well, most of people doesn't really believe that I don't have a home in Yerevan.
Or outside somewhere, or
yeah. It's like, this is my home. Oh, you really live here? Yeah, I live here. I don't have home in Yerevan. I was never considering it as a necessity to have a home in Yerevan.
Yeah. I sold my apartment in Davtashin and bought the house that I live in now in the village. Everybody thought I was crazy. Even my closest friends, like,
never had one.
You're not you're crazy. Why would you go? And it's 2.5 hours from here where I live, and the last hour is fine. The last 40 minutes is on a really bad road, and the last 5 minutes before I get to my place, I have to go up a hill like this. I have a beat up Pajero that makes it.
Yeah.
However, other villagers are able to get up there with a Zhiguli.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how they do it without the bottom of the car falling out. But and when my friends come to visit, some friends have come to visit, they always complain, kind of like, oh man, this is crazy. How do you do this every time? I'm like, no, I came here so that I can check who my real friends are who are gonna come visit. You're listening? So who are gonna come all the way there to visit. Those are the real friends.
Speaking about friends, because when I bought this property in Debed, I said, I bought something in Lori, and my friends in Yerevan, they wouldn't even congratulate me. They would say, oh, okay. You know it better. Okay.
Just to not say something bad, yeah.
Yeah, because, it is now that we have a paved road. It's past 1.5 years.
Or...
No, not me. not me. It was a government project. I don't know.
Do you have some context? We could use some roads up where I'm from.
The story of that road being built, it's a very difficult one.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll tell you later maybe.
Yeah.
But it is now that we have paved road. Back in those days when I was buying the house, from Yerevan to the village, it was a journey of 4.5 hours.
Wow.
This is how bad the road was. And that's why I understand people not congratulating me, because you have to be a full-time crazy to do that.
At least
right?
part-time. Yeah, but yeah.
No, full-time.
Full-time crazy.
And you would get to Vanadzor with bumpy roads, even the roads through Aghababyan and all that stuff. It was not repaired. It is now repaired, but back then it was 2 hours to Vanadzor, and then at least 1 hour negotiation with taxi drivers to take you to the village, because no one would want you to take you to the village. And then another 1.5 hours of bumpy road that being exploded, construction works. They were building this section from Vanadzor to, I don't know, Alaverdi, which was taking, like, I think it took 6 years to finish. And a year ago, they finished from the main road to my village. They paved that one section. So I mean, that was quite a challenge. And starting a construction under those circumstances,
Okay, it is
you
full-time
have
crazy.
to
It's
have
overtime crazy.
It's an overtime crazy. It's unknown diagnosis.
Yeah.
Literally, I don't know how I was unlimited naive, I mean, borderless naive to just start. But once you're there, you have to. I mean, I don't know. I choose to go.
You planted. Did you do like a ribbon cutting ceremony or something?
No, but because of COVID, nothing of that happened. Nothing of that happened. I had soft launch in August. And very carefully, only friends that I knew that were keeping quarantine for all these months, because I had my mother living with me in this home. So I would carefully, I was letting people in. None of that happened. And we worked then 8 weeks, and the war began, and we closed again for the rest of the year. So that was the 2020. But okay, different story. But it was quite challenging with the roads, of course.
Absolutely, yeah.
And now everyone thinking to go to come to Armenia and maybe go to regions to live. Please know you have way better conditions. Most of the roads are paved, frankly.
Yeah.
Across Armenia in past 6 years, a lot of at least that infrastructure has improved. Like, I don't know,
The Chambarak road, they fixed a lot of it. It used to be pretty bad. Like from the Yerevan highway to Chambarak, like that's where you would go to get to where I am, like through Zoravank and up to Antaramej. So it's the Zoravank to Antaramej part that still has some improvement to do, but everything before that, it's actually been done in the past 2-3 years. So that's good.
So my life quality changed from that time to now, I think 10 times in terms of time saving when I go back. And plus, once you're in the village, you have like 2 days of migraine, from all this shaking. And I was suffering really that road a lot back in those days. But now it's just, if I need quickly something in Yerevan, I say, okay, well, it's just 2 hours. Okay, it's a matter of one good playlist.
It took away like 2.5 hours of travel. Yeah, it used to be 4. You said 4.
Now it is for me under 2 hours.
Under 2.
Under 2 hours, and I'm driving really relaxed, easygoing, nice playlist, and it's really enjoyable.
I'm on autopilot. I don't know. Back in Canada, I used to do a lot of Montreal, Ottawa. I still do. It's we had a company where we teach seniors how to use computers. It's called Students for Seniors. And I would go do workshops from Montreal to Ottawa. And it was a straight line there, and I would go on autopilot. I wouldn't even realize that I'm driving.
Yeah.
And here too, finally, it started like working that way. Where before it took forever, 2.5 hours until I get there. I was like tired. Now I just have my spots that archive the what do you call it? Not a hawk or
Eagle?
no, the eagle.
No, eagle.
Not the eagle when you
yeah, you're
So
coming
we
from
always
seven
like
direction.
with my family, we always like do a little honk to the eagle, like hey, you kept us safe on the road, and on the way back there too. So far it's been okay. I've gotten used to this driving thing, but whereas before I used to come sometimes once a week, sometimes twice a week. I had to come back to Yerevan because I had some business here. Now it's so much better. Every time we're supposed to come to Yerevan, it's like dreadful. Both my wife and I were like, okay, just we're going to Yerevan. It's okay. We're gonna stay there like 2-3 days. It's gonna be hot, but we're okay. We're not gonna die. We're not made of chocolate. All right, let's go. And then when we're supposed to come back, it's like all smiles. We see our mountain. We're like, okay, that's it. We're home. A little
Yeah.
bumpy ride. At the end, there's this part where the car's like this because you
But
need
that's
to
a
like.
lovely feeling, that
It's
bumpy
amazing
road when you're almost
when
home.
you know
Yeah?
you're almost home. Yeah, it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say is for anybody that's actually considering coming to Armenia or like considering moving from Yerevan into the regions, there's actually a lot of opportunities everywhere. One thing that I've noticed, unfortunately, is that a lot of the people, even especially in my village, which is quite remote, I guess, not everybody the locals don't necessarily want there is an amount of money that you can give them to buy their property, and it's not necessarily that much, and they're willing to sell it and go live in a city. And I don't know if you guys had that challenge. Every time I have this conversation with one of the locals from my village, I'm like, guys, you don't understand what kind of like richness you're living on. Or maybe it's my perspective and I'm being like inconsiderate. I don't know yet, but I feel like everybody that's from the regions actually wants to move to Yerevan. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, we have to try and put ourselves in their shoes,
Yeah.
right? I mean, because we didn't. I mean, I'll speak for myself, right? I didn't grow up here. I didn't have any connection to here until I was 23, right? So all of my experience is in DC. So naturally, what I see here and what I have here is so different, and it's very interesting for me. I think we all crave at some point in our lives something very different from what we've experienced,
Yeah.
right? So if you've grown up in a remote place, I think it's very natural that you want to at least experience life in the city. I can imagine in my case, if I had grown up in the village, that I would want to be educated, let's say, in Yerevan, and to have access to people who had seen the world and a more international mindset. The thing that I think is really tricky is, for example, if you go to Yerevan for your education, it's very difficult to get someone to go back to the village after that. That's something I'd love to discuss a bit later too, right? Like with all of the opportunities centralized in the capital,
It is hard to go
especially
back,
education, right? You build your network and the job opportunities are in Yerevan. So how do you get someone to go back? But in any case, yes, I understand what you're saying. And I think we just have to try and imagine what it would be like to spend your whole life in a place like that.
I get even before I moved to the village of Yerevan, when we would talk, when the taxi driver was saying "Gözal yerkere toğrele sekerestin chance," and when I would talk with like the younger people and they're saying, no, I want to go here, I want to go there, I wouldn't say no, this is the best place, you have to stay in Armenia. Like that would be, it would be dumb to say it that way. So it's understandable that I guess it's a different way of saying grass is greener on the other side. It's a different way of saying you want to experience, you want to have the choice of being able to go somewhere and experiencing it. For me, I had that opportunity. We left when I was 6, spent 25 years in Canada, absorbed everything I could absorb. But that feeling that I got to go back and have an impact back where I'm from still lived on. And that was a motivation throughout my life, right? And I understand people that want to live, but there are people that... for me, having land is like super important. I don't like, you have your own piece of land, and it's finite. There's only so many pieces of land out there, and you have your piece of land. You take care of it. You can grow your food on it. If something happens, you can have your you have your chickens or a couple of cows or something. I find, for me, this was like a dream to have my own piece of land in Armenia, in the mountains of Armenia, somewhere in the forest. So I guess it gives me. It makes me less understanding maybe of those who have grown up there, and they see their mountains, but it's like taken for granted, I guess. I don't know how to explain it.
I guess there's also this element too we can't overlook of, if you have resources, right? Living in the regions is very different than if you don't have resources, right? Any person's experience of this country, if they have sufficient resources to enjoy everything that it has to offer, is going to look very different than someone who really has to pinch every penny, right?
Yeah.
And again, bringing kids back into the picture, thinking about the opportunities for your children. And I think that's probably what's going through a lot of people's minds when they think about Yerevan, because they know that the educational opportunities are going to be better there.
But I would like to touch up the point you just mentioned. Owning a land is so important. One of the reasons I literally considered Debed my home not as a home base anymore, because my mindset changed. It happened during the COVID. So when I was building my house, I was thinking, okay, this is something no one can take it away from me. This is my land. And the reason I left that Gozal country, and I had a wonderful life in Germany, really. I had a wonderful career. I had friends. I was feeling very comfortable in the society. At a certain point, I realized that I don't have many options for my life to lay down and wait. You know, things can happen. So you want to just lay low and wait until times change if something happens. Because in Germany, you have to be in the rhythm constantly, you know, on and on and on until maybe you go to retirement. But in that period of time when you are before your retirement, you have really no time to just relax and for a half a year or for a year just to wait and see what you want, okay? So I took my time off, my sabbatical, I traveled, and I realized if I go back to Germany, that's it. I have to start working again. And in Debed, life has just put the perfect framework for me. I finished my house, COVID began, and this is exactly what I had the opportunity to test. Just lay low, hold your breath, and test what's going to happen. And you won't believe after I finished construction, you can imagine, I had really almost no money left on my account. And with saying no money, maybe some 500 euros somewhere for the God knows how long of time. You don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have probably some debts also in the background, because with the construction, maybe you have to pay back something. And I had no jobs from Germany coming. The world was frozen, COVID, and then the war again, you know? So.
But you had your land.
But I had it my land.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, you just lay low and wait. What's going to happen? You can grow your stuff. You can, you know, with that little resources, you can have your 5 chicken.
Yeah.
And no one going to take this away from you. And with your labor, you can do your living.
And the property taxes aren't much either.
And
like
even
when I compare it to Canada,
you proficient and very professional in those. And even earthquakes, when you've built your house, you know where you're living. This is something that matters really to me, because every time I see the buildings in Yerevan, I think, oh God, in an earthquake zone such Armenia, as Armenia is, but this is not a very smart solution, right? And I have my home
with a solid foundation.
With a solid foundation.
Yeah, that's what
and
prevents.
In past years, I think it was at least 2 to 3 earthquakes per year were documented that we had earthquakes. I think I felt 1 or 2 that I got a bit shaken, but not terrified, a bit shaken, that I said, okay, Mom, let's get out. You know, that was it. Let's get out for a moment, okay? But nothing happened. Okay, it was not a big deal, but still, it's something that we have to keep in back of our mind.
Oh yeah, unfortunately, earthquakes are gonna happen. So for those who don't know, I'm a researcher at the National Academy of Sciences in Seismology, and an earthquake is gonna happen. It's a matter of when, But having solid foundations is very important. Absolutely very important. Hopefully, the project that we're working on now with my father, GeoSurfer, it's for diagnosing the earthquake preparation process. If if we get that going, and we have some friends in Uzbekistan and Japan soon that we're gonna meet with that are interested in our research. So hopefully, in the next few years, we'll be able to actually more or less know if and when. Not if, actually, it's a fact. There is gonna be a really bad earthquake. It's just it can be tomorrow, or it could be like in 20 years, or in 30 years, or in 100 years. We don't know, right? So it's that not knowing that's a little bit scary when it comes to earthquakes. Sorry for the sideline there, but yeah, it's not always easy to live in the regions. You know, you always have to come back to Yerevan once in a while because a lot of the stuff that you need is here. A lot of people I know are here. A lot of people I'm sure that you guys know are here. If you want to visit some friends, so it's not always fun. It's not always convenient, but it's definitely really rewarding. I can't imagine not living where I live now. I just can't imagine not waking up and seeing that mountain range with the forest.
And you wake up different.
You wake up different. I wake
We
up at
can
6
tell
a.m.
all of
happy.
us. We were just so destroyed this morning. We woke up in Yerevan. God, this is so exhausting.
Barely slept. I woke up
Barely
like
slept,
5 times in the
yes.
middle of the night to go put my face in the refrigerator. It's bad.
Sorry, everyone living in Yerevan.
Yeah,
This is
no,
all-
we're sorry, but not sorry that we live in the
No,
Come
regions.
visit us and see how it is.
Oh yeah. There's guest houses.
Yeah, but-
you have
but-
guest
but
houses
we
in,
do,
in
actually.
There's an amazing guest. I don't remember the name, but it's
Villatars?
no, it's this guy that with his wife. It's like on 2 floors.
Comuna. David and Christina, who moved from
No,
Yerevan.
this
You know
Italian
everybody in
guy.
Győri.
Villa
Conte- no,
Antonio.
Contelasia?
Oh,
I will
On
not
two,
remember the
two
name.
stories.
It's
Oh,
like
Mariam
white,
and,
it he has like a basement with like a bar.
a wine bar. That's David
Yeah,
and Christina.
yeah.
Do you know what they found in the wine bar? Temporary aside. There's so much cool stuff in Gyumri. Little plug for Gyumri. They haven't done as much excavation in the city as I think they should, because really everyone who does a little bit of digging finds very cool things. David and Christina were renovating the garage of this house that they bought. They have a guest house and then a wine bar. So in the wine bar, they found a tunnel that goes for 1 kilometer.
Oh boy.
Shut
How
up.
cool is that? So when you
What?
go and have a glass of wine at the bar, you can actually
Where
open
does
the
it
hatch.
take you?
Toward Gars, they think that it was part of a network of tunnels toward the border,
Oh wow. Okay.
but it's actually closed after 1 kilometer. Anyway, cool things.
yeah.
Keep digging.
Yeah, yeah, but they're great guest houses. This is
There's
a great.
guest houses in Gyumri. There's one. There's 2 guest houses. I don't know if one of them is functioning or not. There's one guest house in Antaramech.
Business opportunity for someone listening.
Yeah, no, it's called Forest Inn. It's really an amazing place. The guy that owns it, Boris, he unfortunately got into an accident like 10 some years ago, and he's physically disabled. Like, but it's amazing guy, and his wife and his 2 daughters, and they have this. It's a really nice, really rustic wooden kind of guest house, and it's right at the entrance of the village. Meaning that you don't have to go through all the rocky stuff
That was
to get to it. That's very smart, and it's a nice view. And yeah, no, it's I try to get people to go there just to get away. You know, you go to Sevan to get away from the heat, I guess. But the sun is still there. You know, you still get burned. But in the
Sevan
mountains,
has a very aggressive sun.
It does.
Absolutely.
oh my
That's
God,
true.
yeah. We
Yeah.
still
But
go to
I-
Sevan. It's very short from where we are
Yeah.
through Jambarak. We can go to Sevan.
Yeah.
But to cool off and to be fresh, it's not just Sevan. You can go into the forest.
Yeah.
The forest keeps
and have
you
close
cool.
access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, we all have guest houses because Aragak also has a
Yeah.
guest house
Yeah.
on the property of the therapy center, and we just opened a greenhouse so you can pick your own
Are you
tomatoes
pet friendly?
there. Yes.
And it's a closed territory?
Uh-huh.
How pet friendly? There's no way I can bring my 90-kilo
No,
gamper.
you can't bring your gamper. I guess we're pet friendly in the sense that we have lovely street dogs who hang out on the property.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, people can stay at your guest house. They can stay at Forest Inn in
Yeah.
Antaramech, and they can stay at the Aragak B&B.
No, but speaking of, decentralizing from Yerevan, I remember again, back in 2016, 17, when I was starting that stuff, even some soy sauce I would buy from Yerevan and bring over.
Yeah, sriracha. Yeah. Yeah. It's still hard to find.
Now you get Asian food ingredient, most of them.
After the
You
sushi
get
places opened up,
in
yeah.
Vanadzor. So my life has changed quite a lot. I mean, I would do grocery shopping like full car with folded back seats. I would just put them. Every time I would come to Yerevan, it was like a horrible grocery shopping. Oh my God,
Oh, you have to
I'm
get
so
a
exhausted.
penoplast thing so it doesn't.
Yeah, that was logistics. That was horrible. But now, I mean, we get most of the stuff fixed in Vanadzor, unless I need some specialty delis that you get only in specialized vendors in Yerevan. Yeah? So and also to motivate people, the communa or the communities, they will not evolve if you don't do anything.
Yeah.
You just cannot expect that you
So that's
will come to a ready product and enjoy it.
You
This
get
is
to be a
not gonna-
part of it, right? You get to be a part of the change.
So no, totally.
Your little contribution has to be there, and today a lot of interesting things happen in Vanadzor. It's also So this has to happen. This
And it
decentralization.
will happen. It will happen through people like us. I think this was very, very useful. I enjoyed meeting both of you. I think we have to wrap. So we're gonna wrap things up. Like a last thing I would say is that living in the regions is not as bad as people think it is. It's actually the opposite. It's so much better. I think that I would invite anybody to just explore the regions, not just go to the landmarks that we all know, or to the specific places that we've all already been to explore Debed life. Debed living.
Debed life.
Debed
That's
life.
absolutely correct.
To explore Gyumri and Arigak, what Arigak has to offer. Explore Andaramech if you guys want. Come, we're really welcoming. But yeah, so to wrap things up, I think this was very useful. This was fun. I enjoyed hosting this, and I hope you guys had as much fun as well.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to visiting you both.
Yeah.
See you sometime soon.